Welcome to another episode of the Trusted Advisor podcast and video series powered by the Retail Solution Providers Association. Our goal on the pod is to accelerate the success of today's and tomorrow's leaders in the retail IT industry. I'm Jim Roddy, back with you again. Thank you so much for joining us. This will be a special solo episode of the podcast. We're going to get back to having guests in our next episode. But today I want to share some thoughts with you about our changing industry in light of the acquisition of several resellers that has happened in the second half of 2022. So you can feel free to call these solo episodes a Roddy rant if you like. But before I rant, we have to thank our sponsors who support the RSPA community and make this podcast and video series possible. Our platinum sponsor is Blue Star. Our gold sponsors are Brother, CoCard, Heartland, ScanSource, and Shift4. And also, we want to let our listeners and viewers know an RSPA membership has never been more valuable or affordable. Annual memberships for VARs start at just $250 a year. And for small startup software companies, we call them direct independent software developers, DISDs, it's only $300 a year. You're talking far less than $1 a day. So again, if you want to join the RSPA community, visit gorspa.org or email membership@gorspa.org. All right, over the past 4 or 5 months, I've fielded phone calls and emails from several RSPA members who were concerned about resellers that are being acquired, especially those who are getting acquired by larger vendors. Now, I agree, when you see big vendors scoop up small VARs, it's unsettling because VARs are the foundation of not just the RSPA, but the entire retail IT channel, right? They're the demand creators. They're the problem solvers. They're the ones who keep the merchants happy. But I can say this, even with all these acquisitions, the data tells me, and my eyes and ears tell me as well, that the foundation for our industry remains strong and it's being fortified. It's actually being strengthened by new solution providers. So let me explain, only go back a little bit because I've been talking about this for most part of the year. So earlier this year, I wrote a column for the RSPA's Connect magazine. For those of you not watching on YouTube, I have a copy of Connect right here. And so in that issue, I mapped out where we, the RSPA, see our association and our industry, where it's heading. Now, if you don't have Connect and you want to read the full article, you can visit the RSPA website. You just Google RSPA Futurecast. The status quo isn't apropos. And if you don't know how to spell apropos, that's fine. Just search RSPA Futurecast and you're going to find it. Now, one of the points I make near the end of that piece addresses the question of who is the reseller of the future. Startups, niche players, and high initiative solution providers are injecting new energy into our community, and they're collaborating with longtime members to help everyone grow faster. Our industry is shifting for sure, but the RSPA is adapting just as fast. Our team holds a bullish view on the future of our channel. Now, I wrote that from the perspective of an analyst of our industry, which I've been for several years. I didn't write that as an RSPA cheerleader, right? The traditional dealer model has changed, and many of the traditional dealers, many of us have known for years or decades, they're selling their businesses or they're retiring, and they won't be a part of the industry's future. And that's fine, right? That's their choice. That's the nature. That's how the circle goes in this industry. But I can say our team at the RSPA has seen firsthand the rise of new solution providers who are leading with their own products as well as reselling hardware, software, and services. Now, if you visit the RSPA new member spotlight page, that's where we put a lot of our new members. You can go to gorspa.org/spotlight, or again, if you prefer the Google machine, just Google RSPA Spotlight. On that page, you're going to see companies you never heard of before, right? But they're going to be leading with their own software, their own payment solution. They're going to lead with managed services or their homegrown niche focused solution that they have. Now, are some of these companies eventually going to get bought up by the big guys? For sure. But you know what's going to happen after that? No, the channel won't collapse, right? What's going to happen is other startups and other SMBs are going to take their place. And here's why I say that with conviction. The heart of our industry has been and always will be the first word of the organization that predated the RSPA, the Independent Cash Register Dealers Association, the ICRDA. Independent, right? Independent. And I can tell you, I bet a large percent of the VAR and ISV executives listening to this podcast today, they don't ever want to work for a big conglomerate. So I'm recording this in early 2022. So the day that I'm recording it, over 7,000 employees at Twitter are waiting to receive an email with a subject line that says, your role at Twitter. If they receive that message in their work email, they still have a job. If they see that message in their personal email, they're out of work, their lives are thrown into turmoil, and I'm sure many of them are going to have to sell their house, find another job, maybe one they don't really want. Some of them are going to have to relocate. And between now and finding that other job and finding their next source of income, their family is going to experience a ton of stress. Now, the reason I bring that up is because the entrepreneurs who own RSPA member companies, most of them don't ever want to experience that feeling. And what else they don't want? They don't want to experience the bureaucracy of working for someone else. They value being independent and having agency with their professional careers and their personal lives. Now, that independent streak, which sparked the founders of the ICRDA to do what they did back in 1948, right, to pull together, band together, and make sure they remained independent, right, that independent streak will take a beating from time to time. There's always going to be a next recession, right? There are going to be technology changes that shrink the market. Business model pressures are going to lead to acquisitions, but that independent streak will never die. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're going through a bunch of change right now, but don't fret about it. All you can do is act, right? All you can do is change with the times, right? Try, test, measure, adapt, right? And then rinse and repeat. Try, test, measure, adapt again and again until you're moving in the direction that you want at the speed that you want. Now, the thing is, we've been through this before. I mentioned the ICRDA, and I have here with me again, for those who are listening on the podcast, I'm holding up a yearbook that the ICRDA put together on their 50th anniversary. And interestingly enough, next year, 2023, is going to be the 75th anniversary. So I've been in this book more often than I usually am. But in the middle of this great book, there's 16 pages listing ICRDA members as of 1998. They have the entire active roster that are in there. So there's about 25 per page. So 16 pages, you're talking right around 400 members. Now, I can tell you from reviewing this, I haven't done a totally exhaustive search, but from being familiar with folks in the channel, can you guess how many of these resellers, these dealers, still exist today? Maybe 15%, right? Probably closer to 10%. The rest have gone somewhere else, which is fine. Right. And so a few examples. So I picked one random page in here, but the company that jumped out to me, the dealer, was called Erie's Business Systems. They jumped out to me because I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. So I'm like, oh, maybe there was somebody in Erie. And sure enough, Erie's Business Systems was located in Texarkana, Texas. The reason they were called Erie's is because they were founded in 1971 by Jerry Erie. And so what I did was looked up online, is Erie's Business Systems still a going concern? And I found out they are not a VAR today. They morphed into being an accounting firm. Okay, so I'm on the page that has the E, F, and G. So I go to F, Ferris Point of Sale, right, based out of Fort Worth. It was Harold Ferris, Dorothy Ferris, Jack Ferris, and Jody Ferris, obviously, a family business founded in 1974. Looked up them online, see if I could find their website. Are they going? Are they still a current POS dealer? Are they still a reseller? The only online mention was them providing a testimonial for the broker who helped them sell their business, right? So they transitioned out as well. All right, staying in the Fs, moving down a little bit more. Frontier Business Technologies in Buffalo, New York, founded in 1955. I looked them up online as well. The only mention about them, again, no website. It was a news piece from 2000, just 2 years after this book was published. And the headline was Frontier Business Technologies acquired by Microsystems, right? Acquired by a big vendor, which is exactly what people are worried about today, right? That acquisition has become a distant memory, right? The folks who Micros acquired, Micros went and morphed into what they wanted to do. A lot of these other folks then restarted businesses or morphed into doing something else, right? And so what was going on back then causing folks all sorts of stress, and I'm sure a lot of people wringing their hands and saying, oh my gosh, this is the end of the channel. Here we are. Now that's just a distant memory. Again, we've seen it before. So here's the thing. The vast majority of those 400 resellers who existed in 1998, right? We're not talking about eons ago, right? They transitioned into something else, some of them selling to a large vendor. Now, what I find to be an interesting coincidence, comparing that list of 400 resellers to today, guess how many VAR members the RSPA has as of late 2022? Just over 450, right? And so we've actually increased the number of folks, even though the vast majority of those who went away. Now, that number 450 doesn't include what I alluded to earlier, the direct independent software developers, the DISDs, the folks who lead with their own software, but essentially act like a reseller. They don't call themselves a reseller, but they're bundling their software with hardware, with services, with other software. They're working with vendors, they're working with distributors, they're selling that solution to merchants in their niche, right? That's essentially a reseller. They don't call themselves that. So what we see is when one independent solution provider goes away, a new one rises to replace them. When 5 go away, sooner or later, 5 or maybe even 10 rise up to replace them. Or we've also seen a lot of existing companies morph and spin off to fill that gap. Now, I know change can be very scary stuff, and nobody likes uncertainty, right? Nobody likes being in the middle of the change because they don't know how long it's going to last for and where we're going to end up. But I can say the good news for VARs and ISVs in the retail IT industry is, first, we've done this before, as I just detailed. Secondly, you don't have to adapt with the times alone. You don't have to stare at the ceiling tiles and wonder, what should I do next, right? And the reason you don't have to do that is because that's the RSPA board, the RSPA leadership team, the now 700 plus members of the RSPA community. That includes the resellers, the DISDs, ISVs, vendors, distributors, payment companies, right? We have a mission to serve SMB solution providers. We provide them, and quite frankly, we provide each other with services, insights, and partnerships that help VARs and ISVs remain independent. Now, I don't know if they're going to write a book about us someday and what we're going through here in 2022 heading into 2023, but it's the story of our times, the past, the present, and our future. Well, that does it for this episode of The Trusted Advisor. We hope you enjoyed my commentary. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the RSPA YouTube channel and the Trusted Advisor podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd also appreciate it if you'd rate us wherever you find your favorite podcast. If you're a regular listener, you know my personal philosophy is the more stars, the better. Before we go, we want to say thanks to RSPA Director of Marketing Chris Arnold for his production work, Joseph McDade for our music, and last but not least, thanks so much to you for listening. Our goal at the RSPA is to accelerate the success of our members in the retail IT ecosystem, especially the SMBs, by providing knowledge and connections. For more information, visit our website at gorspa.org. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, everybody.